All right, guys, this is going to be a short video, short, sweet, to the point to get you out to the track. So I got to change the oil. This is probably my fourth ride. Since I changed oil, obviously you want to do a whole break-in process, but this is 24. I've already done that. It's been on the track probably 3 or 4 times now, so I'm on my second oil change. You're going to need 2 of these or whatever oil that you prefer, but the bike does take, I think, 1.3 quarts, so you're going to need this and another one. And then I always recommend running an OEM filter. But get the bike off the stand. I'm going to make this short and sweet. You're going to need an 8mm and a 6mm Allen key for the drain plug on the bottom. And that should be it. So let me get the bike off the stand, get this really messy drain pan set up under it. And hey guys, so underneath on the skid plate, you're going to have, where are they at? So I can show you guys. There's one 8mm, then right on the other side, it's only those 2 bolts, and then you'll have access to your drain plug. And then on this side, 8mm, 8mm. This is going to be where your oil, this is going to be where your oil filter is, but there is a spring in here, so just make sure you're careful. All right, guys, so once you pull this off, you're going to feel a little bit of resistance once you take the 2 8mm out, and it's just because these clips right here are actually on the frame right here. Anyway, crawling underneath. There's your drain plug, 6mm Allen key. Let me make sure that that's accurate. It's a 6 or a 7. All right, guys, so I lied. It's actually an 8mm. Just get one of those things from Harbor Freight, this little, with a bunch of little Allen keys. So while that's draining right now, you will have this as your drain plug, and there's also a crush washer, but mine's still stuck on. It's not stuck, I just got to scrape it off, so I'm gonna get that off and replace that too once I get under there. But now, move on to the oil filter. Guys, so while that last little bit of oil is dripping out of there, you see that spring in the oil filter? You can take it out, you can leave it in, it's whatever. Just making sure you get that stuck on your other oil filter. So now that this is all done, make sure you clean your surface areas up really well before you start putting before you start putting the bike back together. I don't want any contaminants inside of there at all. So I'm gonna wipe underneath the bike really well. I'm gonna wipe around the oil filter housing. I'm probably not gonna wipe inside the oil filter housing just because there was only oil in there. I don't wanna leave it that way, but just try to get every surface area you can as clean as possible. And keep in mind, your oil filter housing, the cover looks like this, and that is where your filter is gonna ride, but I'll show you. All right, so back together we go. Rubber side of the filter is gonna be pressed down. That side's gonna be up against the spring. And actually, yeah, this side and spring towards, so goes in like that. Don't torque just one side of these down. Kind of work both these bolts in so that you don't potentially strip it or go in at an awkward angle. But yeah, I'm gonna put this back on, clean up the other area, and then start out. Guys, oil filter housing is on. Something to note, you will hold this as you kind of hand tighten these on. Just make sure you're really careful. I'm always super careful when it comes to this stuff just because it's super easy to strip. And then I got the new crush washer and the crush washer and drain plug back in. Gonna take this cap off again. Cleaned up this area really well. I actually took some brake cleaner underneath to make sure it was really clean. I'm gonna clean this cap up a little bit. It's got a little dirt left on it. And 1.35 ounces, I believe, is the service call. I'm gonna double check that. And yeah, you have your little fill glass down here when you stand the bike back up and be able to see what you're doing. All right, guys, so filled back up, 1.35. Tighten that, and what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna warm the bike up. It's very, very cold. It's only like 30 degrees. Always prime it. I don't know why I prime it. KTM always, I did that on KTMs. I don't know why.